We are live. Aloha kakahiaka, everyone. That means good morning in Hawaiian. I'm Peter K, and you are on the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Happy March 14, 2025. And we have, of course, as usual, a great show planned for you today. So we got what we're going to cover. We've got some Hawaiian news we're going to hit up. We're going to do a market update to give you a clue of kind of what's happening on the various islands in terms of the real estate market. We've got your questions that we're going to be covering. Got a really good discussion question for today. And then we're going to go for some diamonds and deals, some properties that we think are awesome. And we're going to close up with some motivational thoughts. But before we do that, we always want to kind of warm up the internets, warm up what's going on online. And so to warm up, we have our two friends with us today. Ashley is not with us. She'll be with us on the next show. We've got Dylan Nonaka, who's from the Big Island, and we have Heidi Dallinger, who is smiling and cheer and bringing us a smile and cheer from Maui. Thanks, Heidi, for being here. So let's warm up those microphones. Heidi, what is the ceremonial? I just got through brewing my coffee just like a minute before we started the show. What is your coffee of the day today? Everybody, that's what Heidi is famous for. She's famous for coffee. What is your coffee today, Heidi?
My coffee today was the red Katuai coffee. It's one of my favorite Maui coffees. But what makes it really great too is drinking it outside, feeling the sunshine, going on a little walk in the morning. So that's the way I started my day today. So happy to be here.
Starting the day with the morning walk, man. That is, I'm with you, Heidi. I'm with you. That is the way to do it. I've recently been doing a similar thing. I get up, try to do it every single morning. It doesn't happen every single morning, but pretty much. I get up and I walk out to the beach, which is close, a short walk from our house, which is a blessing all by itself, and just sit on the beach and I meditate for half an hour. And it is just like the greatest way to start the morning. Absolutely love it. So I'm with you on that. Dylan, what's the shirt? What's the shirt and how's the Big Island today?
Oh, Big Island's beautiful. I was actually on Oahu for like 8 days, and so I got back last night just in time for the show. But this is a Manaola. It's kind of like it's one of those shirts where you don't have to iron them, so that's why I like about them. Is like they're easy. Throw them in the dryer and they come out perfect. But I wanted to mention, on coffee, right? So I'm a pretty simple coffee guy. But one of my goals in life has always been to have an espresso machine in my house, and we're currently doing a kitchen renovation, and so probably by the next show that should all be done. And we're splitting the water. Like, my only request was, I told my wife, you can do whatever you want, like whatever color cabinets, countertops, I don't care. Like, I just want the water line to the fridge split so we can have a espresso machine next to the refrigerator, and so that will be implemented here shortly. So it's the little things, but it's a big accomplishment in my life, is having an espresso machine in my house. I had an uncle, that I used to go visit, and he was a doctor, and he had an espresso machine in his house, and I just always said, man, I'd love to make myself a latte in the morning, So that's happening soon here. So by next show, I should have espresso in my house in my cup.
You have arrived, man. You have arrived. If you have the espresso machine in the kitchen, you have arrived. Arrived. And speaking of someone who has arrived, Marco has arrived. Marco Kapata, welcome, Marco. Mahalo, aloha, Marco, and mahalo for being here. We're glad that you've joined us. Welcome, hey folks, and if you're here with us, join us. Throw a comment in the chat. We'd love to hear from you and recognize that you're here. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So interesting, good fun, man. It's always an espresso machine. So what is your favorite? So now we have to dive deep into coffee now. So what's your favorite kind of coffee besides obviously some sort of an espresso? What specifically do you order when you go to like a barista?
Well, I'm pretty simple. Like, I just like black coffee, but I like Americanos, right? Because you make it strong.
So it's an Americano.
Yeah. So that's the main thing. But once in a while, I like a mocha every once in a while with some coconut milk. I think is great. But at the end of the day, I'm just a black coffee drinker. So, and my preference is strong. I don't really care what kind. I just like strong. So.
Hot, black, and strong, man. Hot, black, and strong.
Yes.
Hot, black, and strong, like my man. That's what we all say. Borrow a great line from. I don't know if there was that was one of my favorite. One of that one movie, Airplane, which was from my sort of generation, right? Airplane. Even I guess I was kind of younger, but that was like, that movie was I don't think there's a movie that has more funny one-liners than Airplane. I don't know if you saw that movie or not, but there
No,
is.
before my
Oh,
time, probably.
yeah, it's before your time. It is, if you ever, as you're kind of cruising through, and like, especially if you're looking through those free streaming channels, like it's going to probably be on one of those free streaming channels. Yeah, it's a classic. Anyway, all right. Enough about classics and old men. I'm going to pop in to do some news. And maybe kind of it's because it's just the three of us, we can kind of use this as a kind of some discussion points. So let's pop in. Oh, CD Holly is here. Excellent, CD Hollis. Well, aloha, Dylan and the gang. I'll be over for the double shot once up and running. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to
Chris,
do,
good friend, long time client and good friend. So
awesome. Yeah, hey, we need to.
let's do it.
Dylan,
Let's do it.
you're going to need to have the espresso party at your house. I think that's going to be. I think that's going to be a must on the thing. All right, good. Hey, let's hit some news. I got some stuff I kind of wanted to share with everybody, and let's see. I've got to see what I got to do something here really quick. Excuse me for the technical issues over here. I've got some things that I kind of had to mess with, but I'm not going to bother you all with the details of what occurred. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we had some tax. It looks like the tax department. So the most unbelievable thing has occurred in Hawaii. The most unbelievable thing has occurred in Hawaii. We're getting a tax cut. Hawaii's a deep blue state. Tax cut is not in our vocabulary, but now it is. And thanks to Josh Green, I gotta say he did it. And so if you go to taxcuthawaii.org, this is you can type in some income data, and it'll tell you how much your taxes are going to go down and how much money you're going to save over the next 5 years. It's an incremental process, and boy, it sure is nice. Go there and check that out. It's kind of a shock. I'm kind of shocked. A lot of changes going on in Honolulu real estate. I think I'm going to skip that right now because Ashley is not here. They're trying to do well. I guess the one big thing which is interesting is they're working on having a situation where certain developers can be also the ones that grant permits, something of that nature. So I was hoping that Ashley was going to be here and she could pull that off, but that's okay. Green on Trump. So, very interesting to kind of see how Josh Green, I wanted to comment on this, that Josh Green had mentioned he's basically trying to work with the president. And he had mentioned that he had a conversation this was in the newspapers. He had mentioned he had a conversation with the president, and president said, look, you could do whatever you want to do. If you're with me or you're against me, you could do whatever you want to do. Just be polite. That just be polite. And Green is kind of playing along with that, which I thought was really cool. Looks like Hawaii has Hawaii, we're supposed to have a reputation of being slow going, and we kind of take it easy, and we're used to long waits, and it's all true. And we're kind of mild in traffic. That's true too. People do let you in. We don't beep in Hawaii. All that is true. At the same time, we're speeders. Hawaii's got a lot of speeders, like thousands. They're tracking some numbers right now, and we have like thousands and thousands of speeders, and they're going to be putting up speed cameras. They're talking about putting up speed cameras across the highways, and I thought that was interesting. It's kind of interesting. We had a conversation about this a very long time ago, and I'd be curious about what it's like on Maui. And here, let's just do this really quick. Let's just break into a conversation. So we're talking about speeding.
Sometimes the speed limit is unreasonably slow. That's why. So I think it's more, right? So
exactly. And it's kind of funny because I think they put themselves into a corner because they made the speed limit really low for the longest time. Like, for example, on one stretch of the freeway on Oahu, the speed limit's 50. And everybody does 65. And even if there's cops there by the side of the road with the radar, they let people go at 65. You just can't do 66, but 65 or less, you're good. So 15 miles an hour over the speed limit. So now what's happened is that, of course, we're all used culturally. Everybody does 65. That's the speed that you go up the highways at 65. So they're stuck now because what if they make it 65 or make it 60? Right? Make it 60 and then give people 5 miles, a 5 mile leeway. People are going to go 80. because we're used to going 50 miles an hour over the, we're going to be doing 75 now because we think it's okay. They put themselves into a bad place where it's culturally accepted. Cal Highway, the speed limit is 35. Nobody does 35 on Cal Highway. Nobody. You got to be doing 49. You got 49 is like the number. So I'm curious, Heidi, what's it like on Maui? Is it like strict speed limit 5 miles over? What's the range on like the slower highways in Maui, Heidi?
I thought the speed limit was just as fast as you can go. I'm just kidding.
Limit, truly the limit. Yes.
No, people are definitely speeding, and our highways here are not built like, interstate highways on the mainland where there's a median between oncoming traffic. So it is pretty scary when people are going, 65 miles an hour plus down these roads. And like to drive from the west side over to central Maui or Kihei, you're going on these roads around cliffs and there might be road work. And people tend to just go as fast as they can go. So just like anywhere, it's important to drive safely. And then on some of our other roads, the roads tend to be a little curvy, so there might be somebody crossing the street going around the corner. So anyway, just like everywhere, it's to be aware and drive safely. But I really don't know of many people getting pulled over for speeding, and I am not aware of any red light cameras or anything like that. So it's just kind of, be aware.
It's coming. It's coming. The speed it's certainly going to be on Oahu, and it's going to be just a matter of time before it goes to the other islands. So Dylan, Heidi's thing is that speed limits as fast as you can go is a speed limit, which is it's kind of an interesting cultural thing in Hawaii, right? Because on one hand, we're mellow drivers, right? We're totally mellow. When we're stuck in traffic, we're totally cool. Nobody beeps. Everybody gives way. When you're sitting at an intersection and your traffic signal goes from red to green, the rule of thumb is count to 10 before the person starts taking off. You could wait for, the person in front of you could wait for 10 seconds before they start to take off, before you're justified in beeping. And if you do beep, it's just the lightest possible tap on the horn, the lightest possible tap. That's all you're allowed to do. You can't do the New York, hold down the horn. So we're so mellow. At the same time, we're speeders. Dylan, what's it like on the Big Island? Go ahead, Heidi. Go.
Oh, I was just going to add also, we have a lot of visitors here on Maui, and visitors don't necessarily always know where they're going because they haven't been here before. So, a lot of times you see people just driving really slow, kind of looking for their condo or looking for where they're going to go. And that can be dangerous as well. And there's also a lot of people driving rental cars where they don't know how the lights work. So at night you see people with no lights on driving around. So it's
all kinds of adventures, all kinds of adventures. Dylan, what's the culture like? You're primarily on the Kona side. What's the culture like on the Kona side with respect to like speed limits and speeding and things like that?
Well, I would definitely say 10 miles over is acceptable. So if as long as you're going 9 or less over the speed limit, I've never seen anybody get a ticket for doing that. But like Heidi was saying, a lot of times it just seems like the speed limit doesn't match up with the road. So you have like a place where it's like 35 or 40, but it's like through a town. And so you can't really go that fast anyways, because there's traffic and people turning left and right and stuff, and it kind of slows everything down. And then on the flip side, you have like the open highways where it's like 45, but you could really go 60, no problem. And the speed limit doesn't really match the makeup of the highway. But one of the claims to fame on the Big Island is we do have the only 60-mile-an-hour highway on the Big Island, and that's the saddle road that goes in between the two sides, because it's just one straight shot super highway going across islands, and you really could go like 80. It's safe. It would be safe to go like 80, but they did up it from 55 to 60, and pretty much everybody goes 69 on that one. So if you're driving on that road, that's kind of the flow of traffic is 69. So It's probably the fastest you can go and not get a ticket on the island is Saddle Road on the Big Island.
Okay, so it's like so basically 10 miles an hour over the posted, if it's safe, is kind of like what people do.
Yep.
Here on the freeze, it's more like 15 or 14, I should say. 14, you know. It was really fun. I remember once I got.
But on Oahu, having been there this whole past week, right? Back to Heidi's point, it's like you almost can't go that fast. Like, I mean, there's traffic all the time. I mean, it was crazy. Like 2:00 on the H1, and it's like back-to-back traffic, and you're going like 15 miles an hour. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it just always reminds me of why I don't take for granted living here, because the worst traffic puts you, it'll take you 10 minutes longer to go what would have taken 15 or 20 minutes. But on Oahu, man, just to get to Fort Shafter to Waikiki, it took me like 52 minutes when it's like 5.2 miles or something like that. It's like, this is unbelievable. So,
which is why we like crank it at 65 when we have the chance. It's like, oh my God, I'm free. Oh my God, freedom, free at last, right? And we kind of go for it. So yeah, so that's that. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Alex. Aloha peeps, welcome back, Alex. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And Auntie Joan is back. Auntie Joan, haven't seen you for a while on our show. Great to have you back. Auntie Joan is one of the founding members of the Islander Ohana. Thanks, Joan, for being here. Always great to see you. Yeah, good fun. I'm just wanted to touch on a final story here on the goats fighting wildfires. So it's kind of fun. So Dylan had mentioned earlier that there's some folks on the Big Island who actually have a service where they'll instead of a lawn care service. And instead of cutting your grass with lawnmowers and machines, they'll bring goats, and the goats will eat the grass, which is kind of cool. I guess they're talking about using goats now as a firefighting, a wildfire control measure, which is kind of cool if you think about it, right? And I think they're going to try this out on Maui, Heidi, where they're going to bring goats to eat the grass, because it was like high grassy areas that, were one of the cause of the fires, all this kind of fuel. And they're thinking about bringing goats to kind of eat all of the grassy areas to fight wildfires, which is kind of cool. And I don't know if you guys have heard about that, but I thought that was kind of an interesting piece.
Yeah, if there's already a fire going, you don't want to call a goat, though.
Goats won't. Yeah, the goats won't do it. Goats aren't going to fight the fires.
Just reading your headline. I'm like,
yeah. Well, we've got to put
prevention, not fighting. Prevention, wildfire prevention.
That's right. That's right. Well, they're fighting it in kind of a proactive way. It's not emergency fighting. It's a proactive. We're fighting it proactively. Just
people are imagining goats with like waters, spigots coming off of their horns or something like that right now. So
goats with freaking lasers attached to their heads. That's what we want to see here. It's like, yeah, cool. All right.
Hey, but shout out the company here on the Big Island is called Goat Dozers. So if you need land cleared, it's Goat Dozers, and they'll bring in a herd of goats. They'll temporarily fence it off, and then they'll just let the goats graze for a few days, and they'll just clean out all of the underbrush. I mean, they'll if you got overgrown grass and stuff, it's like locusts. They come in and just clear everything out. So it's very, very effective for land clearing.
Goat Dozers, that is so cool. I love that. Number one, I love the name.
Did I tell you the story of my good friend that bought a big piece of land and used them? Did I tell you this story? And the people complained about it?
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's a good cultural story of just like, don't be this guy, all right? When you're here is I got a good friend and client that buys land periodically, and he bought this big piece of land next to kind of a higher end subdivision here in Kona. And so he brought in the goat dozers to get it all cleared out because it was very overgrown, and so you can get a better idea of the topography and just to maintain it. And the residents in the neighborhood next door started calling the county and complaining about the goats making goat noises. And so he had to deal with the county calling him and like saying these people are complaining and stuff. And like his response was, hey, should I bring in a D9 instead? Because that's going to be way more noisy than the goats. Like, come on, guys. Just the silly. And this is on ag land. I mean, he wasn't doing anything wrong. He wasn't breaking any codes. I mean, he's simply trying to be a good steward in a environmentally friendly way of clearing the land. And of course, people complain. So don't be that guy if there's goat dozers next to you.
No good deed goes unpunished. No good deed goes unpunished. Yeah.
Yeah.
No good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Next time, bring the D9s first. And then when people complain, get rid of the D9s and bring the goats, and they'll all love you to pieces.
Crazy.
Right? Yeah. Good fun. All right. Okay. Let's get into our market update. We want to kind of know what's happening as far as you folks want. I'd love to have it. I want to have We're here to have a discussion about what's happening on the real estate markets. Heidi, why don't you start us off? Give us a sense of what's happening. What have you seen? What's happening on the Maui market? How would you summarize it? Things that are worth noting, whatever you'd like to share.
Sure. Well, I mean, we got our stats for February 2025. Kind of the trends continue that we've been talking about. It's a slower overall market on Maui. The number of listings is about the same as last year, but the rate of properties going under contract has slowed for both single family and condos, but for condos more significantly. Condo sales are down about 34%, home sales down about 10%. Days on market is up pretty significantly for homes. We're at 123 days, condos 136 days on market. It really represents an opportunity for buyers who have been kind of waiting on the sidelines, wanting to get into the market. Buyers have more options. They also have more negotiating power than any time over the past few years. So a buyer who's been looking to get into the market long term, I mean, this is a market where you can come, you can shop around, you can look at listings, you have more options, less competition. So it continues to be a good time for buyers who are interested in getting in the market long term.
So interesting. So a quick shout out to Auntie Joan. I would have been out there petting the goats. Exactly right. I mean, you could kind of like double up the service. Like you got goat dozers, and you could go out and invite people to pet the goats. Everyone's a happy camper. And then hell, while you're at it, you might as well do the goat yoga. There's goat. My daughter had told me about there's goat yoga where the goats will, I don't know, they do something, whatever. You do yoga with goats, whatever the hell that is. But yeah, all kinds of possibilities. Anyway, thanks, Joe. So Heidi, so it sounds like because of this, what do you think is kind of going on? I think, look, you mentioned what condos are down 34% from last year. Is that what you said? That's a big number, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we've been talking about like the last few shows. I mean, on Maui in particular, condo sales have been sluggish. I mean, really because of the uncertainty around possible changing regulations for vacation rentals in apartment zoned areas. The mayor made a proposal last year to phase out vacation rentals in apartment zoned areas. That has not happened. The county council still needs to make a decision. Nothing's really happened yet. I mean, we're hoping to get some clarity maybe later in June, but that's just kind of been hanging over the market, causing a lot of uncertainty. I mean, the other factors are higher interest rates, which, I mean, that's affecting the real estate market nationally. Also higher HOA fees being driven by higher insurance rates. So it's a combination of these factors that are impacting our market overall right now.
So it's like this perfect storm is kind of coming in. So it certainly seems to me like, well, you know, the big word I caught into was uncertainty, and I think that's a huge part of it, right? That the uncertainty as far as you don't know what's going to happen with the vacation rental market, and I think to us, it seems to be a little bit of that is also on the actually, I was going to say this is becoming a statewide issue. I think there's a little bit of that on the Big Island. I'd be curious what Dylan's got to say about it. I know that Oahu's still kind of wrestling with it to some degree, although I think we're kind of past that now. But I getting this vacation rental issue kind of clarify where there's certainty. And so because of that, there's a good opportunity. There's a good opportunity if you're looking for, you've got negotiating power now, right?
But I do want to mention too, so this uncertainty about vacation rental in apartment zoned areas, I mean, it's kind of affecting the whole market, but there are vacation rentals in hotel zoned areas and other areas that simply would not be affected no matter what happens with the apartment zoned, because they would remain vacation rental. I mean, there's also residential condominiums that were never allowed vacation rental, and I mean, that's not going to change, but that market's being affected as well. So, I mean, I think each buyer needs to just think about, what their goals and priorities are and, understand these are the general market conditions, but the type of property that they're looking for, might not be directly affected by what's happening.
Right. Right. So you have to look around there. There's some generalities, but you have to look at the specifics, and there's always details that are important that you catch. Like you said, even though there's uncertainty, there are some areas in vacation zoned areas that don't lack certainty, right? That are certain.
And also, I mean, you're getting for apartment zone vacation rentals, I mean, there's cases where there's sellers who are very motivated and buyers are able to come in and get a much better deal than they would have ever been able to get over the last few years. So for a buyer like willing to enter the market, and buy in these uncertain times, they're getting potentially, a big price reduction compared to what they would have been paying a few years ago. So, I mean, wasn't it Warren Buffett saying, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful? I'm
Great
not,
line. That's
I'm not
it's a
giving any
motivational thought there.
Buy when
but
there's blood in
yeah,
the streets. It's the best time to buy, right? So
yeah. Like the nice thing for buyers though is because our market a couple years ago, like a condo would come on the market. I mean, you had to run over there and offer above asking price. Right now, you can plan your trip out to Maui, shop around. No, properties are still selling though. So, I mean, don't think properties are just like a good property is just not going to stay around forever, but you can actually tour around and look at different properties, see different neighborhoods. I mean, we really haven't been able to do that kind of thing for a while. So it is nicer for buyers in this market.
Yeah, 100% agree. That's some excellent
you,
points.
you know what I want to inject into this discussion, right? Is this almost because now this has been going on for over a year, right? And it almost proves that the theory, right? Because the theory is, hey, if we ban vacation rentals, then it'll be more housing for local people and regular folks who need to buy a home, and this is a good thing for everybody. It'll bring down rent. I mean, that's like the political theory or pitch behind all of this, and I think what the market has done is proven that completely to be wrong, right? Because if that was right, all of these well-priced condos that are sitting on the market would be bought by regular folks who want to, not these bad mainland investors and all this crazy stuff that they say. Like, so why aren't these condos all being bought up by regular local families who need a place to live? Like, why is that not happening, right? It's because it's a different market. Like, people don't desire to live in those kinds of places. A lot of times it's too small. It's not feasible for a family. Like, it's not going to accomplish the stated goal of all of these regulations. And so I don't know if that's going to make any difference, but I think, just the threat of it has proven it to be wrong already, just in what the market's done. So
look, man, I mean, since you're going to since we're going to do a venture a little bit into the political side of it, I think this is just another, as the libertarian, as I don't know about the libertarian, but as a libertarian here, look, it's time and time again, the lessons of history have been, you can't have a small group of people making decisions that affect millions. If you have a small group of people who are making decisions that affect millions, it's inevitably going to fail because they can't possibly have all the information that they need. So a small group of people, i.e. a city council, making some decisions that, have an impact where normally thousands would be making the decisions, like in a market condition, right? If a few people say, oh, I think this is a good idea, let's do it. Well, it almost invariably ends up the way that we are seeing it. So Marco, okay, thanks. Marco, I'm from Serbia. Oh, and Turkish and Italian influence have made coffee a staple in our country. My favorite espresso is Hausbrand Gold. My recommendation. Well, there you go, man. Hausbrand Gold. That's going to be that's it. Now is Hausbrand Gold is it a type of coffee bean, or is it a preparation? Is it a type of way that the coffee is prepared? I'd be curious about that, Marco. As one of Greek ancestry, I know that when the Turks, one of the things of Turkish occupation in Greece for over 400 years has made Greek coffee like Turkish coffee. So The Turkish coffee is strong coffee, and I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. All right, Dylan, what's the give us the Big Island setup? What's going on with the market on the Big Island?
Yeah, sales are pretty much flat. I mean, we had a 343 last month and 347 the month before, so just a few fewer sales than we saw. And I was just looking back at like the last 6 or 7 months, and pretty much 5 out of the last 7 months have been like within 10 sales of 350. So that's kind of the new normal, which is lower than it's been. I mean, normally we would see between 4 to 40, 4 to 450 sales per month. So we kind of took a step down, and it's been pretty consistent over the last 7 months in terms of market activity. But the interesting data point is that we crossed 6 months of inventory. So that's always the indicator, right, of buyer's market versus seller's market. Less than 6 months, we consider a seller's market, and then over 6 months, we consider a buyer's market. But if we dig into that a little bit deeper, because that takes into account all of the types of property, right? Multifamily properties, commercial properties, business properties. If we just look at condos and residential properties, normal stuff that normal people buy, residentials are still at 5 months of inventory, so under 6 months, and condos are just above it at 6.7. So those are still pretty balanced markets. It's the other types of markets, like the business market is 24 months of inventory, commercials 18 months of inventory. So it drags the average up, and it's not really representative of the core market of where normal buyers and sellers exist. About 90% of the market is in that residential and condo market. So interesting kind of crossing of the line, because we've been talking about this for years and years and years, and how inventory has been low, but I always go back to historically we're still at like 2,300 available properties on the Big Island, and that number should be 1,000 more than that. If we go back to historical norms, is normally around 3,500 properties on the market. So historically we're still very low in terms of inventory, but it's creeping up slower and slower and slower. And because of the low number of sales, that's creating that 6 months of inventory. Because if we were at 450 sales per month, we'd definitely still be in a sub 6 months of inventory market. So some interesting dynamics, but it's pretty just like normal market. Feels good. Buyers are getting to negotiate. Sellers got to wait a little bit longer, 30 to 90 days before we start getting offers. We've seen a lot of properties kind of just sit. Buyers are a little bit more apprehensive. Like Heidi was saying, they're shopping around. So pretty normal right now, which is good. Normal is good. Nothing crazy going on.
So kind of from the normal comment here, what we're kind of saying to one degree or another is that yes, it's not like the red hot days back when it was the COVID craziness, where, like Heidi said, you had to submit, extreme cases, you had to buy sight unseen, with no riders, with over listing, and you still wouldn't make it and whatever. Whereas now it's kind of has elements of a classic market. You have to compete on both sides. You have to look you can still find good deals. You got time to negotiate. Sellers are, more or less motivated. Things are not it's not as crazy as it used to be. And at the same time, we're not seeing there's no like flashing red warning signs. There never has been at least in the years that we've been doing this now, flashing red warning signs that Hawaii's market's about to kind of do something goofy or whatever. It's just kind of some of the normal kind of ups and downs, within the normal up and down wave of markets going up and markets going down, but nothing tremendous happening. So that's the way I'm seeing it. Cool. Hey, so we got Marco responded, husband is a brand. Okay, so Dylan, now you know what to ask for. You want to ask for the husband beans to show up for when you make your when you get that espresso machine cranking. And Santi Reynolds, Aloha pals, hope I'm welcome. Of course you're welcome. I do want to give a caveat though. You are welcome until or unless you wear out the welcome. Just don't do stupid stuff. Be a part of the thing. Be a part of the group here. Aloha, share the Aloha spirit. Hang out with us. Comment. Let us know where you're from, and you're good. You're always welcome. Everyone's always welcome. And by the way, yeah, folks. Hey, look, if you just joined us, make sure you let us know. I would like to know where you're from. Let us know what you've joined, and we'd like to hear from you. It's always good to have everybody over here. And quick, yeah. So let's do this really quick. Station break. So look, how did you get here? Did you get the newsletter? If you got the newsletter that gave you the link to the show, you're good. If you did not get the newsletter, you need to get on the newsletter. Go to livinginhawaii.com. The thing will pop up. You put your email address in, and you'll get on the newsletter. We got great stories that are coming out every week. Photography, amazing photos that are happening. Of course, the show invites. We have other YouTube videos that come out. Actually, we're doing shows every Friday, every single Friday now. So there's new content, crazy amounts of new content. We're quickly Remaining, I would say, is like the top site for people that want to live in Hawaii. This is the place to be. That's why it's called livinginhawaii.com. So cool. All right. Let's do this. So we got an interesting question that I wanted to use as our discussion point here, which is let's pop this on the screen here. Is like, okay, what to pack when moving to Hawaii? So it's an interesting question, right? So, if someone is kind of relocating to Hawaii, if they're making the move, what are the kind of things that you should take and tips for avoiding, common packing mistakes, right? So people, when there's a lot of things that you can think about taking when you come to Hawaii, and there's a lot of things that you should definitely not take to Hawaii. Like, for example, a snow sled. If you do sledding on the mainland, I could guarantee you, even if you go to the Big Island where we have snow-capped mountains, you're never going to use the thing. So don't bring the sled. That would be one thing you would not want to bring, as an example. But I'd like to hear from Dylan and from Heidi as far as, what if Dylan, you were born and raised here. Heidi, you've lived here for over a decade. So we're kind of used to this place. We've acclimated. But if you had to, and Dylan, you lived on the mainland for a short while and you came back, right? You were stationed. You were yeah, right. So knowing what you know now, if you were going to talk to if you could time travel, talk to yourself before you made the move back to Hawaii, Heidi, let's go with you. If you could talk to the Heidi of 10 years ago, or however many years you've been here now, if you go back in Illinois, in that small town, Heidi, who was either living in the big city in Chicago and about to make the move to Hawaii, what would you tell that Heidi? Hey, all the stuff that you brought, don't bring it. And a few things that you didn't think about, bring them. What would you tell that Heidi about what to bring and what not to bring when trying to make the move to Hawaii? Heidi.
Well, I think making the move to Hawaii, you really realize you don't need a lot of stuff, and you need even less stuff in Hawaii. The mistake I see a lot of people making is shipping like huge containers of furniture and all their stuff. I mean, you just don't need it. I mean, you don't need it. Like, the lifestyle here, it's not about stuff. When I moved, I did not bring a lot. I packed 4 huge boxes and shipped them over. One of the boxes got lost in the mail. I never received it. To this day, I don't even remember what was in it, other than my yoga mat, which is easily replaceable. So that just made me realize that whatever was in that box wasn't that important, because I obviously didn't miss it. So I would say, just bring some clothes and your toothbrush. Anything else you really need, I mean, you can get here and acquire over time, but don't bog yourself down with too much stuff. And especially if, like, you don't know where you're going to live, definitely don't bring too much stuff. Like, if you're renting, and you're getting ready to buy, just wait till you're actually in a more permanent situation to start trying to ship furniture and things, and even your car, because it's expensive to ship stuff. And you will find that, most of the things that you need, you can easily get over here.
That's it, man. It's not about, you said something I wish I would have wrote down. It's not about the stuff. It's the stuff. You don't need the stuff, right? Like Marco, favorite flip-flops, sunglasses, and motorcycle. Okay, well, there you go. If you're a motorcycle fan, that's a good one. I want to give a shout out to Judy. Judy, you just moved here recently, and you've gone through all kinds of interesting moves. I'd be curious for you to pop in. What was your big aha of all the stuff that you folks moved? What would you think about that? So yeah, don't bring as little as you can, because I think, one thing that you said, Heidi, which really kind of stuck out, was that the lifestyle is radically different, and you really don't quite have an understanding of how little you need, or the different things that you need based on the lifestyle. And that's be the one thing. Dylan, what would you tell, again, you're kind of a different sort of a case, because you've been born and raised here. You moved to the mainland for a short while, then you came back. But what have you seen? Because you've helped all kinds of people move here. You've seen all kinds of incoming folks of all shapes and sizes. What's your take on what to pack or not to pack when moving to Hawaii?
Yeah, I agree with everything Heidi said. Don't bring too much stuff. But I think the thing that people definitely overestimate the most is clothes. I mean, they bring too many clothes, and that's something that we do wear clothes here, but we just don't wear that many. I mean, you don't have to have a ton of, especially, I mean, the cold weather stuff is pretty obvious, right? You don't need a bunch of cold weather gear, but a lot of times people will bring like suits and formal attire, and the opportunities to wear that stuff here is just so few and far between that it's almost unnecessary. Like, I think if you own one suit, like, you'll use it once every 3 years and you're good to go at whatever wedding you go to, formal wedding you go to. But even with women, with like, dress type attire, you just bring too much stuff, and you're never actually going to use it. And for men, I mean, it's t-shirts and maybe a couple of Aloha shirts and some shorts. And I mean, you don't even need, I could count on my hand how many times a month I wear pants, right? So I mean, sometimes it's zero. So that's a big one, is just, you can really cut down on the amount of clothes that you bring and what kind of clothes you bring, because you really don't need that much. And then when you get here, you're going to want to fit into the lifestyle. So you're going to probably want to replace it with authentic Aloha attire and maybe some local t-shirts and stuff, versus, you don't want to be wearing a Oklahoma t-shirt while you're here. It's just going to stick out like a sore thumb. So just all stuff to consider, but definitely clothes. Don't bring too much clothes. You don't need that many. And I'm a victim of this, because I travel a lot. And I go to the mainland. I'm like, oh, I should get a new jacket, because I'm like going to be in, Reno or whatever. And then I get it, and then it just sits in my closet with the other 14 jackets that I have that I don't ever wear. And it's crazy. So a fun practice we try and do like yearly is go through and purge all of our stuff and go give it to Goodwill, to folks that need it. And definitely too much clothes.
Too much clothes. Yeah, you have to do the Marie Kondo thing. I watched a few of Marie Kondo shows. She's the one, the Japanese lady that does these amazing cleanups of the house. And one thing I picked up from Marie Kondo was, when you're letting go of clothes or anything, if it no longer brings you joy, that's what you go through. You go through article at a time, and you look at the article. If it no longer brings you joy, you let it go. And man, there's a whole lot of clothes that you could let go of. There's a whole lot of clothes. It's almost like you have to kind of do it and on at least an annual basis, right? So you got to because there's so much crap that you accumulate. Even when you still live here, you still accumulate a t-shirt here, a t-shirt there, a pair of shorts here, a pair of shorts there, Aloha shirt here and there. It's like, I haven't worn this damn thing in years. It no longer brings me joy. But speaking of bringing me joy, Rich brings me joy. Rich from Minnesota. Hey, the temperature today is 70 degrees, maybe snow tomorrow. Yeah, I heard that there's some kind of major storm that's making its way through the mainland, and Minnesota is the place where you guys are going to catch it. So stay warm. Of course, you're going to wear that your Minnesota warm wear. Another thing you would not want to bring to Hawaii. I've got a couple of to go on your point, Dylan. Actually, a couple things to reflect. First of all, Heidi, like you, I brought 4 boxes of stuff. My 4 boxes made it, but you know what? 3 of those boxes I did not need. The stuff that was in 3 of those boxes I did not need at all. It was like a stupid pack. I look back at it now. And when I first moved here, I lived in a studio, and so my studio was filled with those 4 boxes of crap that I didn't need. So I bought all these boxes, and then I overcrowded myself, and I didn't need to bring any of them. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. And on the clothes part, Dylan, it's funny when like Marco, I had a motorcycle on the mainland. I did not bring the motorcycle with me, but I did have this really cool Harley Davidson black leather jacket that I absolutely loved. It was my motorcycle jacket. It was totally cool. I loved it, and I brought it with me to Hawaii. And Never wore it ever again, not even once, not even to try it on. I didn't even try the damn thing on. It was so inappropriate in so many different ways because I didn't have a motorcycle. Obviously, it was way too warm. Never wore it once. And that was that. And then finally, my other clothing story. This one was kind of really funny. So this is very recent. We're going to a wedding on the mainland, and I need to get a dress shirt, right? Kind of a typical mainland dress shirt, long sleeve, to hold a tie and stuff like that, right? So we go to Macy's here in Hawaii. We're going to Macy's in the men's department. I'm looking around. I find a dress shirt. I pick it up. We pick it out. We go to the checkout counter, and it's so funny because the lady who's checking us out, old Japanese lady, she's kind of folding the shirt up, and she looks at the shirt, and she says, "Who buys these things?" Just like she does. Who buys this kind of stuff? I'm like, yeah, I know. We're going to a wedding in the mainland. Like, oh, okay, all right, that makes sense. So there you go, man. It's I never had a salesperson tell me about who buys this kind of stuff. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. All right.
Here's a hack,
Yeah.
right? It's like anytime I get like once a year I go to a conference, they have like a formal dinner where you're supposed to like wear like a tux and a suit and stuff. And I just make like it's prom, and I go and I rent one from the local store here. It costs $150 or whatever, but it's better than like $500 or $700 that it costs to buy one that you're never gonna wear again. So there you go.
That's it,
Formal
man.
attire,
That's
just
it.
rent it.
I actually think I'm saving money living here because I spend less money on clothes here than when I was in Chicago, because you need coats and hats and boots and jackets and all that. You don't need any of that here. It's great.
Yeah, and not just that too. You kind of also need like multiple wardrobes, right? On the mainland, you can't. Whereas here, just a few, and kind of everything's kind of cool, right? Everything's kind of cool. So Marco, clothing prices compared to mainland. Here, let's just make it simple, Marco. Let's just say, just to grant it, that the clothing prices here are much higher. But the fact is that you just heard Heidi say you don't buy that many clothes. So you end up, the real answer is you end up spending less on clothing, far less on clothing, even though it's more expensive. Like Dylan, I don't know if you looked at the price of an Aloha shirt lately, but $150, is not unheard of. I think my Christmas shirt was $150, right? So, but I only got one. I only got one Christmas shirt, and I'm gonna, and frankly, I had one. I have two Christmas shirts now. The one that I've had it for 15 years, and it's fine. I was perfectly happy. My wife forced me to get another one, or else I would have kept wearing that same one because it, wear it at Christmas works good for me. So you spend less, Marco. All right, let's hit some diamonds and deals over here. We got some properties that our friends have reviewed that they would like to share with me, and we'll hold on. Yeah, okay, we'll do some diamonds and deals here. Let's see what we got over here. What is the Lanai City Lanai? This is not either of you. I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, that's mine. That's mine.
Okay, all right. I'm looking for the word Maui, but yeah, sure, go ahead.
So Lanai is part of Maui County.
That's
so
right.
we actually have 3 islands that are part of Maui County. So this happens to be on Lanai. And this is a deal, only $300,000. It's a studio condominium right in the center of town. You can walk to the community pool. You can walk to Dole Park, the new medical center, the senior center. The golf course is just a few minutes away. And it's a studio, it's small, so you definitely don't want to pack too much stuff, but you have a big west-facing window, lots of great natural light. The HOA fee is only $343 a month. Property tax, $72 a month. So, you can live very affordably over here. So,
wow.
This is a deal.
That's a deal. Like so hold on. 300,000 for a studio, and you said the maintenance fees are how much a month? You said 300 a month.
$343 a month.
343, man. And you're on Lanai, which is like you're like the only one on the island. Like there's like nobody there. It's very sparsely populated. You've got
there's people there, but
I'm dramatizing. Of course. Yeah. People go to Chat GPT and look up what's the population of Lanai. But yeah, it's wow,
Pretty
that's
sure
cool.
I'm pretty sure it's 3,000.
3,000. Okay, 3,000
Yeah,
people, right?
that
Think
that
about
would be
that,
my
right?
guess. Somebody prove
So
me
everybody
wrong.
knows everybody, and like, yeah. So is this in some kind of is there like a community kind of a thing here, or just a residential area? Is it set in a what's the setting, Heidi?
Well, the big picture with the trees is of the park, and then the
Okay,
smaller picture at the bottom shows the buildings. So it's a condo complex.
condo complex.
But
Okay,
I mean, Lanai City's the main town there, and you can walk to everything that's there, like the little shops, the restaurants, movie theater. Um, there's a nice swimming pool over there. So,
cool.
yeah.
So it's got so is the swimming pool part of the condo complex, or is the swimming pool part of like the public a public
Part
park?
of the public amenities.
Public amenities. Wow. Wow. Cool. For 300 a month. That is a unique property that I've not seen shown. So thanks for sharing that, Heidi. Excellent. Very, very cool. All right. We're gonna skip the Princeville one, and we're gonna skip the Waianae one, and we're gonna go, I think, this one.
One more.
Oh,
There we
Hawaiian
go.
Shores. Oh yeah. Go ahead,
You
Dylan. Let's hear
you
about
know
this.
you know Hawaiian Shores, right, Peter? Didn't you?
Yes, I
Weren't you?
do. Yes, I do. I'll wait till I'm gonna cliffhanger, folks. I'm gonna talk about that later. Dylan, go.
Yeah, no. So this is just a little 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath home for 525. But look at where it's located. I mean, where else can you get a home that close to the shoreline in Hawaii? This is sold totally turnkey, so all of the furniture will come with it. You don't even have. You just bring your one suitcase with your shorts and your flip flops and your t-shirt. You don't have to bring any clothes, and just a killer little yard. Palm trees all around it. Very quintessential kind of Hawaii property. But this is in the South Hilo part of the Big Island, where it is very rural. You're probably 30 to 40 minutes away from Walmart and Target. But if you're looking for that kind of quiet lifestyle, and you want to just have a short little walk down to the shoreline, and there isn't a ton of like great swimming around here. It is a rocky shoreline. Um, but when the water's calm, you can definitely get in. But yeah, just what a deal. I mean, half 500, 525 to be literally a stone's throw away from the ocean.
This is like you know, so yes, so as you alluded, we lived actually we had a short stint of a great adventure where we lived in this area. We lived on the other side, the Hawaiian beaches side
Hmm.
of this area, and I'm actually curious. I want to go pull up an MLS. I wonder what that property would be going for now. This. We brought this property in. So here's the funny part, right? So it was 1992. 92. We bought a quarter. I think it was a quarter acre. I want to say a quarter acre of land. Yeah, something like that. I think it was a quarter acre. $25,000. $25,000. And then we built a
You know what's crazy is they still sell for about that price today.
No
In like
kidding.
Hawaiian Beach is funny because
Wow.
yeah. The land is still because there's still an abundance of it, right? I mean, it's an
Wow.
oversaturation. There's still tons and tons. I mean, these neighborhoods are only like maybe 15-20% built out, so there's tons and tons and tons of vacant land. So yeah.
Wow. Now 25,000 in today's dollars, that's like, man, that's like next to
Yeah. So
nothing. Because
you overpaid at the time.
yeah, no doubt. No kidding, right? No kidding. My God.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, then I'm glad we sold it. I'm glad we sold it. In that case. But anyway, so this place is really, because it brings back some old memories of building out a place there. And it's definitely like, hey, this was like, if you're like retired or cruising, and you want to live this sort of somewhat rugged lifestyle, because you're not out in the middle of nowhere, but pretty damn close to it, at least back then, and or at least I felt like it. But man, it's like can't beat the ruggedness, and
One of
the
one of the
whole
big
coastline's
advantages
pretty
to
cool.
to this specific neighborhood in the Puna area is they have a private water system. So if you notice from the pictures, there's no water tanks, right? And so most 90% of the homes in this area are on catchment water. But if being on, it's not municipal water, it's actually a private water system that the HOA owns, but they have regular, basically municipal water here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you bring that up, because that was one of the attractions that we had of our property. It had municipal water, and it had electricity, and I was able I was able to order to have a phone service, which again, these are like rich amenities, and we took it for granted, of course, because we, now this is pre-internet. This is 92, and I had kind of a tech business, and I had 3 phone lines wired into the house, and everybody like the phone people like couldn't understand it because who the hell would want 3 phone lines into the house at that time? Of course, I needed it, but yeah, it's kind of wild, man, kind of wild. All right, cool. Okay. Thanks for that. That's great stuff. If folks, you have any questions, pop them in. We're kind of winding our show down right now. We're going to go to the final part, our motivational thoughts. But if you have anything you'd like to add or anything you'd like to ask, please pop it in the comments. We'd like to take it. So let's start to wind this up. Heidi, what is your motivational thought for today, and how is it meaningful to you?
As you start to walk on the way appears. So I love this quote because it's a reminder that start taking action. Don't get lost in all the planning and waiting to have all the answers. I mean, you just need to start going and start taking action. So that's what this means to me.
Yeah, that's it, man. To start, it's a great line. As you start to walk the way it appears, right? You have to kind of take that sort of that leap. Just start. Just kind of like do something. Do something. Get the ball rolling. That's a great one, Dylan. What's yours today?
Awkwardness is a requirement of growth. I just like to always remind myself and my team about this, that if you're going to get good at anything, you're going to be awkward at it at first, right? The fool precedes the master. And I think being able to accept that whether you're taking on a new job, moving to a new place, learning a new skill, like whatever it is, it's always going to be awkward and uncomfortable when you start, but it's the only way you grow into it and get better at it and develop mastery in anything. So just a good mindset to always remind yourself of. And I heard that one. I've heard it a bunch of different ways, and I heard this one recently, and I was like, I'm gonna use this, because usually they talk about uncomfortableness and other things, but awkwardness is definitely a good way because it feels awkward, right?
I think that's a good way to phrase it. When my daughters would tell me, hey, I'm having a really hard time with this. I'm having some challenges, and this is kind of really bothering me. My response would be, great. You welcome these things. You welcome these things into your life. You welcome these things because these are things that you're going to overcome. You welcome them. You don't flip out. You don't push them out. You welcome them, and then you kind of deal with them. And speaking of welcoming, Auntie Jones got some wisdom. Thank you, Auntie Joan. I knew I could rely on you for giving us some of your words of wisdom. Leaps of faith put us in astounding new places. That's a kind of a nice synthesis of what Heidi said and what Dylan said. Leaps of faith put us in astounding new places. Indeed, they do. You got to take that leap of faith. Thanks, Auntie Joan, for that. And I'm going to kind of close it up over here with my favorite book of all time, the book of Proverbs 28:13. He who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. I so many times I am completely a flawed man, and I have, my sins and my mistakes are legion. And I will tell you this: what I really enjoyed the most is owning a mistake and confessing my sins to whoever I've gone against, whoever I've wronged, and invariably, I always get forgiveness from that person. Like, for example, there was one time when I had checked out of, I'd gone to a nice hotel to have lunch, and they had valet. And so I come out to the valet guys, and I don't have any cash with me because I never carry cash. I have no cash. And I tell the guy, man, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't have any cash. I'm going to come back and give you a tip, but I can't, I don't have any cash right now. And I'm so sorry. Right. It was so embarrassing to me. And he goes, oh, bro, don't worry about it. No problem. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. So if you covered your sins, you will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. All right. I think that is it for today. We're going to see you in 2 weeks. Heidi and Dylan, thanks for being here. Great conversation. Love all the great wisdom about the market and about what to pack and what not to pack. We're going to see you folks in 2 weeks. Everybody say goodbye. Heidi, you go first, and then Dylan, you say goodbye.
Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, have an awesome weekend, you guys. See you in a couple weeks.
Have a fabulous weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Aloha. We'll catch you next time.